All right, we're going to talk today for a few minutes about the Sumo Deadlift High Pull. Sumo Deadlift High Pull is a super important movement. It's one of our 9 foundational movements in CrossFit. I feel like it gets overlooked a lot of times in favor of kind of some of the other sexier movements maybe, but Sumo Deadlift High Pull is really important because for us it serves as a little bit of a bridge between the deadlift and our Olympic lifts, the clean and the snatch. Really helps us to focus on developing that explosive hip extension and working on that awesome transfer of power from our core out to our extremities that we like to see so that we can be successful with our lifts, again, especially those Olympic lifts down the road. So let's talk about, first of all, how we set up for our Sumo Deadlift High Pull. We'll talk about some progressions and some things to look out for, to be aware of as we're working on this movement when we're in class. So first of all, for my setup, I like to, on my grip, touch my thumbs together to find the kind of a grip width I want. This is a narrower grip than we'll see in a lot of our movements. So my hands are inside my hips with my Sumo Deadlift High Pull versus outside our hips, the grip that we see most of the time. So I'm going to take that little bit of a narrower grip. From here, I'm going to move my feet just outside shoulder width. My toes are going to be toed out just a little bit. Okay, from here, to assume my starting position is going to be very similar to a regular deadlift other than that wider stance. So I'm going to sit down. My hips will be sitting deep enough so that my shoulders are just in front of the barbell. My chest is up. I've got a nice neutral spine, which I'll show you here in a second. My knees are tracking out over my toes. So this is a good starting position for my Sumo Deadlift High Pull rep. So from the side, again, I've got that width, stance width just outside shoulder width. My toes are out just a little bit. I've got that sumo deadlift grip on my barbell. I'm going to sit my hips down so that my shoulders are just in front of the barbell. My knees are tracking out over my toes. Got a nice neutral spine, good posture. From here, I'm ready to do my first Sumo Deadlift High Pull rep. Now, what I'm going to focus on is, again, making sure I'm transferring that power efficiently from my core out to my extremities. The biggest fault we see with our Sumo Deadlift High Pull is an early arm pull. So what does that look like? So an early arm pull, well, actually, first I'm going to show you a good rep. So the progression we'll use to teach this movement will be to start from here, and we're just going to stand up, squeezing our butt at the top, making sure we get our hips all the way open. So just a nice sumo deadlift. From here, what I'm going to do is add in to the top of that deadlift a big shoulder shrug. And we'll do our first shoulder shrug pretty slow to make sure I'm sequencing these movements properly. So we'll sumo deadlift, knees tracking over my toes, squeeze my butt to make sure my hips get all the way open, shrug my shoulders. Now from here, what I can do is just kind of accelerate that process, shrug my shoulders, but do it a little bit quicker. Okay? From there, what we'll do is, once I've shrugged my shoulders, now I'm going to bring my elbows high and outside. Barbell should end up under my chin. But again, we're going to break this down into progressions to be sure I've really got these locked in before I start trying to kind of blend them together at speed. Okay, so one from the side. All right, so that's proper sequencing of movement. Now, what we see as a fault a lot of times with our Sumo Deadlift High Pull is early arm pull. So what do we mean by early arm pull? Folks start to use their arms. That's pretty exaggerated, but I'm doing it that way so you can see it. You see people start to pull with their arms before their hips get all the way open. We call that a quarter extremity violation. And the reason that's bad news is because I'm shutting power down from my hips, and I really want to get as much power out of my hips as I can so I can make it as easy as possible to get this barbell up in the air. All right? So what we're going to do is make sure we squeeze our butt really hard, get our hips all the way open before I do anything with my arms. And as I'm doing this, I'm thinking about keeping my heels down so I'm not coming up on my toes. The only time I'm going to come up on my toes is if it's a product of explosive hip opening at the very top of my lift, okay? So I'm keeping my heels down, I'm driving my big toe into the ground. All right? Really something we want to be watching out for is that early arm pull. Because what we'll see is folks who are showing an early arm pull in the Sumo Deadlift High Pull are also probably going to be some of the people who show us an early arm pull with our cleans and our snatches. So if we can fix that with our, as we're working on our Sumo Deadlift High Pull, it'll show us some improvement in our Olympic lifts down the road. So that's it. Hope you find this useful. Get out there in the gym and practice Sumo Deadlift High Pulls.